Welcome to Neither Here Nor There.
Welcome to Neither Here Nor There.
Neither here nor there.
Welcome to Neither Here
Nor there.
Neither here nor there.
Welcome to Neither Here Nor There.
Welcome to Neither Here Nor There.
Welcome to Neither Here Nor There.
Neither here nor there.
Welcome to Neither Here Nor There.
Welcome to Neither Here Nor There.
Hello and welcome to our virtual concert of Neither Here Nor There. So excited to have you all tuning in to this concert. I'm Diana and I am a first generation Filipino American and I've lived in the States my entire life.
Hi, my name is Liu Chuanyuan. I was born and raised in China and came to the United States about 5.5 years ago.
Chuanyuan and I started talking about our Asian backgrounds during this unprecedented time, which is something that we're saying a lot. But I do think that in this time, there has been beauty in these conversations about where we come from and who we are and where we hold our identities. So Chuan and I were talking about our Asian identities and wanting to speak to them and wanting others to be able to speak about their Asianness in whatever facet of Asian you are. And so this concert came into fruition by having a conversation about it and by being on the same page with feeling neither here nor there.
We are so thrilled to be showcasing Asian and Asian American composers and poets in this concert. There's a splash of Asian in every piece. This concert will journey through 3 major emotions that both Diana and I have felt in our own ways. A feeling of rejection towards our identity, a realization that our Asianness has always been there, and an acceptance of who we are.
This concert spans over songs and interviews by Asian friends, both new and old friends. It has been a joy to meet new people in this virtual world that we're in, and it's been such an honor to present this concert with them in it. We realize that this story is bigger than Chuan, Ryan, and I, and so we just invite you to embark on this journey with us. Chris Sharon's I Will Learn to Love a Person is a song cycle written in 2013 with text by Tao Lin. I first came across this piece about 2 years ago and was struck by its simplicity. And the more I've lived with it, I've realized that simplicity is powerful. And the text by Tao Lin speaks a message that all of us need to hear and that all of us have felt at least once in our life, which is loneliness and feeling unseen. And for me, I have felt that so deeply with the way I identify as an Asian. I have felt alone and unseen and unheard.
Small children is that they use declarative sentences and look at your face with an expression the effect of being alone for a long time is that I have been thinking very hard about existence, mortality, loneliness, people, society, and love. I am afraid that I am not learning fast enough. I can feel the universe expanding. And it feels like no one has ever tried hard enough. When I cried in your room, 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 it was the effect of an extremely distinct sensation of being the only person alive. I have not learned enough, and I can feel the universe expanding, and it's making things be further apart, and it feels like a declarative sentence whose message is that
A big reason of me coming to the United States for college was to be able to really see and experience the world and in some way really learn from the best. But this notion of United States being the best at everything led me to trying my best to act like an American in whatever I do. From the way I talk to the food I eat, from the way I socialize to how I view issues. I learned the American way pretty quickly. But at the same time, what I didn't realize is I also hid away what made me me for the first 18 years of my life. I closed a window for myself.
now close the windows and hush all the fears. If the trees must, let them silently toss. No bird is singing now, and if there is, beat my love.
Growing up being Filipino, I wasn't proud of it at all. It was just another way people could call me different. I'll be honest, it wasn't until recently that I really felt kind of proud of being Filipino. Like proud of it. There was a point where I accepted that I was, and I guess that's just the emotion. You're ashamed, and then you learn to accept it, and then you get really proud of it. And it took me years of that, and it took me at least until my kids were born. You're in the Philippines. You have this family. You want something better for them. You move to the States. My biological father did this. Moved to the States. Started making money. Started the whole process, getting a place to live. 6 months later, his wife comes. My mom arrives. That idea of going to the States all by yourself and trying to build it for your family. That time between when my mom got married and her husband left, I can't imagine the torture that was. So this piece, I wanted to find two things. I wanted two different perspectives of something. We wanted one character to be kind of the person who was going out into the world and the person who was left behind. The two works that I picked out of there was this Filipino poet, Leona Florentino, Japanese poet Yone Noguchi, and he wrote Where Would I Go? And it was just this it was when he was young. It sounded like he was exactly that. It's like I've moved to this new place, the beautiful stars, all these wonderful things, and you just miss home. And the Leona Florentino song or poem was, I think she was exiled from her household, and she wrote this poem basically saying, you guys are gone. I'm very, very sad, and it sucks, but I still love you guys. So getting those two together and having them almost in a conversation. Part of this is also a little bit of an experiment to see if a certain concept could get through. And the way we originally talked about it is that you would see them on stage next to each other, and they would almost be pointed outwards. So half the audience could see what one person is saying. And so you get that one point of view. And the one of the other ideas with this piece was that it could be a solo without either one of them. One part could be quiet throughout the whole thing, and you would get a song. So this idea that they could live outside of each other, and then when you put them together, it is meant to not be able to follow it completely. It forces you to have to pay attention to someone. It's forcing you to sit there and say, which is the story I need to hear?
These people, so full of joy and trust, they have somebody to share in all. These people, they have somebody to share in all the grievances of life. And my wretched fortune seems incomparable because I am suffering now. I am suffering now. Now I am suffering. Time was wasted by my birth. It would have been 1,000 times better if I had died when I was born. I love my precious one, but I am not sure if I am worthy. Am I worthy? Where would I go? Where would I go? I should have tried to explain, but I was speechless, because obviously I will just fail. But I will feel enough joy if you know this, my love. I swear and promise that you will be the only love of my life. Where would I go? Where would I go? Where would I go?
gliding downward to the peace-buried, silence-tongued somewhere, driven by the gray melody of the monotonous rhymed rivulet, eternal chant of perennial spirits. My soul wrapped in warm darkness, I lost drowsily the memory of times. Roaming about the harmless sky through the chattering atoms, accompanied by the white musician. The mountain breeze, more snowy than powdered marble, under poetry-stringed harp. My weightless soul forgot the fancies of my shuddering passion. But for the remembering, where would I go? Ever looking up to the high sky, heart-filled, I breathed the western airs under heavy tears. My shy soul was consoled then, as if I had drunk my mother's sweet breath, love frozen out of the far west.
These people, so full of joy and trust, they have somebody to share in all. These people, they have somebody to share in all the grievances of gliding downward, the peace-buried silence toned somewhere, driven by the gray melody of the monotonous rhymed rivulet.
Chuanyuan Li's Diamond Impressions talks about the girl of the yellow diamond being the most beautiful as one sees its reflection on the floor of a deli shop. And that reflection was the America that I thought I was coming to. When I moved my gaze to the real figure, however, things were slightly different than I have imagined. There were flaws, tensions, secrets that I thought I never had. But at the end of the day, I still hold my sunny visions and hope for the girl of yellow diamonds to shine as beautiful as it is, and hope for America to be the welcoming and loving nation that we all have seen it as.
Inside a sunlit, gleaming shop window, her single braid swaying as she moved upon a quintessential airy summer day. Micro-rows of rosy capillaries, either side nose aquiline, refined illumined keen eyes, dark and bright, attuned with purpose, so much confidence. Below her knees in front, her apron showed legs lovely, curves behind, and her movements in the sun made me ever stay among a summer's day. She was a girl of yellow diamonds, patterned in tile upon the deli floor, sweeping the shop at close of day. In shadows of the neon sign, her movements took my breath that way. Why should I linger longer on the bench outside? Desire all songs opportunity. From 4 doors down the street, I turn to catch a glimpse. So sweet, breed covered with every stride she took. One hand held purse, the other gripped tobacco stick, sweet pristine elegance disappeared. Like Monet's sunlight shimmers, dark after gallery high. of yellow diamonds is but a vision of the daily flow. The girl of yellow diamonds.
I think the times when I feel the most Asian, oddly enough, is when I'm in an Asian grocery store. Like if I am in an H Mart or just like a hole in the wall, family owned Asian store and I smell fish and strange produce.
Definitely during Chinese New Year, Mid-Autumn Festival. And, whenever we went to Chinese restaurants or we talked about, TV shows back in China, the entertainment, the music back in China.
Well, I follow Korean rappers. Well, I really love listening to Korean rap from high school years. Yeah, and also, Korean pro gamers are the best. I still follow.
I definitely feel the most Asian with Asian friends.
I felt quite connected to a lot of other Asian cultures just because it was so much a part of like everyday life and, the snacks you would eat. Like a lot of, Japanese, Filipino, and Korean friends who were sometimes all of the above.
I'm Chinese, but I'm Australian, but then I moved to the States. So I'm like, I feel like so many parts of my identity and who I am as an artist and as a person have come from the strengths of like adapting to 3 different identities, cultural identities and homes. It was something that it resonated and shook me because I was like, wow, maybe I've become so good at adapting that even I've forgotten. Sometimes my identity feels like it's not addressed.
Since the pandemic starts, well, you hear your country being talked much more often. Media, and I would say mostly media, how that shape people's thinking of where I'm from.
As I've mentioned, it has been an interesting journey for me as an Asian American. And it is only because of my mom, my family, and my friends that I've been able to really focus in on who I am, not only as an Asian, but as a whole person, and see the full picture. So this next piece is by Tonya Ko and is called Smoke and Distance, and I'm so excited for you to hear this incredible piece of work. Tonya set this work to 2 poems, actually, one by Amy Lowell and the other by Richard Aldington. And these poems connect the themes of night, the color blue, and a former love. And so I've taken this narrative and created this former love into my identity as an Asian, realizing that even though it is dark and blue smoke hovers over my identity, it will vanish and it will be renewed. So please enjoy Tonya Ko's Smoke and Distance.
Was
Saigo ng Duyan is a Filipino lullaby that I first heard a year ago in the Hudson Valley at a concert hosted by Oral Compass Projects. My dear friend and Filipina Pauline Tan sang it, and it was one of those moments in a concert that you don't ever forget. I remember the goosebumps, and I remember her opening up her heart to the audience that night and letting us into a piece of home for her. And I've realized that friends, Filipino friends specifically, have brought me closer to home, brought me closer to not feeling so in limbo, but feeling settled and at peace. And Pauline has done that for me in her friendship. And so I sing this song in honor of her and in honor of everyone that has done that for me in my life. Yes, so this one is for you, Pauline.
Sana'y di magmaliw ang dati kong araw
There's already this baseline of awareness of others.
The way you, even when you treat others, treat your, superior elder per se.
We treat elder people very friendly and with respect.
Closeness with my family. That effort my family always took to like meet up and be close and actually rely on each other.
The value of family. Being able to connect with your family is always something that makes you feel like you're still Filipino.
What you do reflects on your family. Your choices affect other people. We as a whole are more important than our individual needs sometimes.
Oh, I'm very connected with the Chinese literature and Chinese philosophy. I love reading Zhuangzi, Laozi, all these classics, and Chinese painting. I do a lot of calligraphy.
Balance and this kind of neutral ideology, and that things works on a natural force. We don't come to a judgment or conclusion or even speak freely of our idea without some effort of really thinking it in nuance.
I am proud of the food.
Food?
Definitely when I'm like eating something, I'm like, oh yeah, like I love this. And like other people are like, what is that?
We do the work really fast.
If your floor is dirty, I have to have shoes on indoor, slippers.
Dedication, commitment, and resilience, and hard work in terms of, committing to what you want in life, what you want in your life for the people in your life around you, and not wavering in your values.
You gotta put in hard work to get what you want.
Because no one's gonna be next to you kind of, it's like, hey, yeah, you have to do this, you have to do that. It's kind of all on yourself.
It was not until this past summer that I realized, now that I'm so involved with classical music, and the fact that all of my trainings came from the States, I in fact know next to nothing about Chinese classical music traditions. I was then inspired by many of my friends and colleagues to promote less performed music, and started to really look into classical art songs in Mandarin. And I have found some truly amazing and important works. These next two songs, written by Chinese-American composer and pianist Zhou Jiasheng, talk about two dramatically different feelings of missing home. One for a lost country, and the other for separated family.
丙辰中秋，欢饮达旦，大醉。作此篇，兼怀子由。
Some people never really worry about their identities, as they have a strong sense of self growing up. But when you are so far away from home for a long period of time, and when that time becomes the majority of your life, it's especially hard to view yourself as the same person. And sometimes we re-examine our relationship with home. The next two songs from Bunching Lamb's last love songs talk about saying love for the very last time and how we hope that that love is always there. I was actually fortunate to talk to Dr. Lam on this, and although it was written for romantic love, we found it really fitting to talk about love for our homes. And here is how she views her relationship with her hometown after leaving it for decades and spending the majority of her time in the US.
What kind of passport I have has nothing to do with who I am. You know, passport is just a piece of paper, it's convenient, and I wanted to to see my mother. So I became the composer in residence of Macau Symphony. And that's a very good way. So they would invite me to play my music, and then I get to see my mother. And that lasted for 8 years. So it was very convenient. And now my mother passed away, and but I still have, a lot wonderful siblings there. My 2 sisters, brother, and a lot of nephews and nieces. So it's just, Macau is still home for me, even though the home is no longer there because I have to stay in a hotel, but still everything is in my imagination.
When passion's trance is overpast, if tenderness and truth could last, or I should not weep. I should not weep. It was enough to feel, to see thy soft eyes gazing tenderly, and dream the rest, and burn in me the secret fruit of fires unseen. Couldst thou but be as thou'st been, after the slumber of the year, the woodland violets reappear, all things revive in field or grove, and sky and sea but two which move and fall all others. Life and when soft voices die, vibrates in the memory. Odors, when sweet violets And so thy thoughts, when thou art gone, love itself shall slumber
I'm sitting here on the banks of the Hudson in Kingston, New York, near what's called the Rondout. The Rondout was at one point a major shipping hub in upstate New York and a major immigrant hub as well. And the beach I'm sitting on is littered with thousands, tens of thousands of bricks, chunks of bricks from the old Kingston brick factory. The piece I'm going to contribute to this performance, Joe Kondo's High Window, is strangely perfectly described by this beach. It's a sequence of chords, a sequence of objects. You have one object. It has its own sort of peculiar characteristics. Then you have another object. Looks similar, but it has its own shape, its own personality. Then you have that first object. Then a third object. And so on and so on. And as you can see with the waves coming up on the shore here, all of these bricks have been worn by time, by their proximity to each other, by the weather, by the elements. And this piece does very much the same thing. It's like a game of operator. I am not Asian American, of course, but I do descend from immigrants, of course, from Scots-Irish immigrants from the late 19th century. And doing this project with Chuan and Diana made me think a lot about how disconnected I feel from that heritage. Just like these bricks are no longer at the factory where they originated, nor are they in the original shape that they were when they first arrived. They are all individuals, yet they carry that weight with them. I appreciate having had the opportunity to think about this, and I so appreciate Chuan and Diana for including me in this conversation. So I hope you enjoy Joe Kondo's High Window.
Growing up, I used to sing on our karaoke machine, like any Filipino family does. And I would sing the classics, Whitney Houston, ABBA, The Carpenters, The Little Mermaid, you name it. But one song that I sang constantly with my mom was Bulaklak, which was popularized in the Philippines by Kuladesma, but actually was translated into a French song by a famous French singer named Gilbert Bécaud, and he partnered with an American composer. Both of these composers came together and wrote a song, a French song, with the same words and the same melody. But Ku popularized it in the Philippines, so I know this in Tagalog. The older I get, the more this song means to me. I really feel so connected to it. And even though I don't speak Tagalog, I feel so at home singing this. And I'm so grateful to how I wouldn't be here without my mom. And I'd like to dedicate this song to her. So this one's for you, Em. I love you.
Bulaklak, ang ganda ng bulaklak, ang bango ng bulaklak, dulot sa atin ay galak. Kung ika'y nalulungkot at wala kang makaibigan, puso mo ay may sandigan, bulaklak. Mapapawi ang kirot, paghapyos mo ng talulot, ay ginhawa ang siyang dulot, bulaklak. Bulaklak, ang ganda ng bulaklak, ang bango ng bulaklak, dulot sa atin ay galak. Kung ika'y nagmamahal at ika'y ang mamutawi, ang pang-ibig sa iyong labi, bulaklak. Kung may karamdaman ka at kailangan ang paglingap, di ba't pang-alis ng hirap, bulaklak. Bulaklak, ang ganda ng bulaklak, ang bango ng bulaklak, dulot sa atin ay galak. Bulaklak, ang ganda ng bulaklak, ang bango ng bulaklak, dulot sa atin ay galak.
Music written by Asian Americans.
I think it's everything. It can be anything. That's kind of the beauty of it.
It's music. That's it.
I think it's in its infancy, so I think there's still time to discover what that is. Right now, with the social platform that's taking place because of everything going on in the world, like, we have an opportunity to uplift that and really explore that in depth, I think, really for the first time.
I would assume any Asian making music in America or that's popular in America would in some context be Asian American music. Maybe additionally you could also lump in music that appeals to current Asian Americans.
I think Asian American music is also just American music, but Asian American music is Asian voices being brought to life in America and embraced for the Asianness it is, as well as the Americanness it is.
A music that represents the Asian and American culture. The text or the music itself, it's expressing and celebrating the history, the culture, or the personal experience of Asian American.
Explores narrative and identity through either musicality or lyrics or text that really reflects personal and also like universal like experiences.
I think Asian American music is what comes out of a person living a life that's filled with experiences of being Asian and being American, and that sort of getting funneled into the work of art that they create.
So I think, first of all, if the music is composed by Asian American, definitely includes Asian American human experience, right? But if it's a non-Asian American composing the music about an Asian American story, I think that's also Asian American music.
We haven't heard enough of it, but I think people are starting to want to hear more. It's probably in a better place than it's ever been. I think the more that we are, for lack of a better term, out and proud, the better we can be.
For me, it's not important. I am who I am. I write music. I'm Chinese or I'm American, and I also might be French because I spent part of my time in Paris. So I'm a citizen of the world.
Any music that comes from anyone who identifies as Asian American, Asian American identity. I think we're kind of breaking it down and going beyond branding.
Any music that if the performer or the composer wants to put an Asian American tag on it, I think it should be Asian American.
I hope you still remember the third piece in this concert, Now Close the Windows, where I sang about pushing away the wind so that I can be safe. In fact, wind in Chinese culture can be such a symbolic thing as it carries sentiments. The sentiment of home, of life, of self in this case, are things that I found myself more and more connected with. That wind thaws the icy part of me and invites me to see this newfound identity as inspiration and possibilities.
Come with rain, O loud southwester. Bring the singer, bring the nester. Give the buried flower a dream. Make the settled snowbank steam. Find the broom beneath the light. Come with rain, O loud southwester. Come with rain, O loud southwester. Bring the singer, bring the nester. Give the buried flower a dream. Make the settled snowbank steam. Find the brown beneath the light. But what are you do tonight? Bathe my window, make it flow, melted as the ices go. Melt the glass and leave
It means navigating different worlds.
Being Asian American is having a history that encapsulates like the good and bad of the human experience, of the strength and the power and the joy it is to be human, leaning into the ambiguity and like that's like my experience, and it makes me, unique and different.
I think what it means to me is that there's a solution, that despite our differences, seemingly external differences, we can come together and realize that we're not so different.
I've always viewed myself as an American, and I'm proud of it, with Filipino background.
My background, right? My ethnic background, my country, the way that people perceive me also shows. I mean, that kind of tells a little bit about how they perceive other, Chinese people as well.
Being Asian American to me is embracing my Asianness and coming to terms with it more and more, and bringing that into the American society and field and highlighting those voices.
You're a hybrid. You're a fusion between what you grew up in and what you either were exposed to or chose to expose yourself to.
It helps remind people that parts of our identity are a choice. Like, I choose for being Chinese American to be a really big, important part of my identity.
My whole experience, my upbringing, people I meet, almost 1/3 of my lifespan right now in the States, they all shaped who I am.
Everything that is me has been created by the experience of, growing up in the Philippines, and even the stuff that is part of me that is Western, like opera, for example, is filtered through the lens of the Asian experience and finds life in Asian expression.
I feel kind of pride as a Korean.
Doing this project myself got me in a weird, very proud part of me where I got to be both things.
It is still limbo, but in a way it's also a place where I can kind of relate to a lot of other experiences as well. 있는 자체, it means kind of like the state of just being in that state, instead of trying to like go like slide a scale. Where I am in that in between is where I can dig in and like dig outward as well.
A lot of us can feel the way that it is not ideally welcoming to people like us, and we have to stick together. We've got each other's back and embrace what happened and trying to bring the positive side along with it.
I think it's all about acceptance, right? Realizing that it's insane to believe that Asian Americans all have to fit this one hole, right? Of this is what it means to be Asian American. This is the stereotype of all Asian Americans. Asian Americans, whatever you define it as, like, you aren't defined by society, you aren't defined by other Asian Americans, you're defined by who you are and who you believe yourself to be and what you value. And then how you act upon those values.
I think at some point, like, most of us kind of realize, like, oh yeah, I'm Asian American.